I had a client named Abhi who was someone that looked on the outside like he had no feelings. We generally understand narcissists as someone who looks at the mirror all day and manipulates people for his own goals. But acting without feeling is, as we shall see ahead, one of the basic disturbances in the narcissistic personality. Hi, I'm Chumki Bose, a senior psychologist at MindTribe. DSM-5 defines the symptoms of narcissistic personality as follows. People with the disorder can have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a sense of entitlement, and require constant excessive admiration. They expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it. They exaggerate achievements and talents and are preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. They believe they are superior and can only associate with equally special people. They monopolize conversations and belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior. They expect special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations. They take advantage of others to get what they want and have an inability to or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. Often, they are envious of others and believe others envy them. They behave in an arrogant, haughty manner, coming across as conceited, boastful, and pretentious. They insist on having the best of everything. For instance, the best car, the best office, the best mate. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything they perceive as criticism, and they can become very impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment. They have significant interpersonal problems and feel easily slighted. They react with rage or contempt and try to belittle the other person to make themselves appear superior. They also have a difficulty regulating emotions and behavior and experience major problems in dealing with stress and adapting to change. They feel depressed and moody because they often fall short of perfection and have a secret feeling of insecurity, shame, vulnerability, and humiliation. Abhi consulted me with his partner Aarti because their relationship was falling apart. Both of them were staying together for a few years, but Aarti always felt like something was missing in the relationship. She felt empty and dissatisfied. When I asked Abhi, he said that he had no idea about what she wanted. Abhi said that he took good care of her and always did whatever is required. He thought that if only Aarti would tell him what her problems were, he would work on them. Aarti said that it is not that he does not do something or has to do something for her. There was something wrong in his responses. So I asked Abhi again what his feelings were about this. Feelings? He exclaimed. I don't understand what feelings are. I don't know what you mean by feelings. I have programmed myself and my behavior so that I can effectively move in the world. How can one explain what feeling is? It is something that happens, not something one does. It is a bodily function, not a mental process always. Abhi was quite a well-read man on mental processes. He worked in a high technology field requiring knowledge of computer operations. Indeed, he saw programming behavior as the key to success. I tried to make him understand better by offering an example of how in a relationship a man who is in love might actually feel his heart skipping a bit when he sees his sweetheart. Abhi suddenly became argumentative, saying he just saw that kind of a behavior or feeling as a metaphor. So I asked him what his views were about love. He explained to me that love was affection and respect for another person, and he was certain that he was able to give that, but it didn't feel like something Aarti wanted. Abhi said that there were other women in his life who complained the same, but he never understood what they meant by that. I was only capable of pointing out at that time that a woman wants to sense that a man becomes happy and lights up in the woman's presence. Love contains some ardor or passion, which is not simply respect or affection. Abhi said that he didn't want to separate from Aarti and that they could be good breeding ground and have an excellent workable relationship. But even if she left, it wouldn't take too long to get over the pain. Abhi said that he had trained himself and made himself immune to pain. He said when he was a child, he practiced stopping his breath until he stopped feeling any pain. I asked him if it would make him feel jealous if Aarti started dating other men. He said a flat no. What's jealousy? I do not feel jealousy. When there is no sense of loss or hurt, if someone leaves you, there cannot be jealousy. That feeling stems from the fear of a possible loss of love. When Aarti and Abhi finally part ways, Aarti took her dog with her. One day, Abhi saw the dog on the street. He felt a pain in his stomach. He came to me and asked seriously if that is a feeling. What can turn a human being into a non-feeling machine like Abhi? Theoretically, I suspected that there must have been either too little feeling or too much feeling in his childhood. When I mentioned these possibilities to Abhi, he said both were true. His mother was too emotional at times and hysteric. His father showed no feeling at all. He said his father's emotional unavailability made her mother go crazy. It was a nightmare for Abhi, but he kept assuring me that he wasn't in any kind of discomfort or distress. Instead, he said that his lack of feeling doesn't bother him and his life is going perfectly well. The only answer I could make was, dead men have nothing to bother and they have no pain. You have simply deadened yourself. I thought this remark was enough to move him when he amazingly replied to me, I know I am dead. Abhi said that when he was a young boy, he was terrified at the thought of death and decided that he is already dead, so that he didn't have to fear anything more. He said that he had always thought that he would die soon and he is surprised he reached 30. You might be finding Abhi's way of thinking weird. He considered himself as a thing, often used the word thing in order to describe his self-image. Abhi viewed himself as an instrument whose purpose was to do good to other people and in return felt pleasure in seeking their happiness. For example, he described himself as a very good sexual partner, capable of giving a woman much pleasure. His girlfriend added, "We have good sex, but we don't make love." Being emotionally dead, Abhi derived little bodily pleasure from the sexual act. In reality, the love-making process with him was more a servicing of the woman than an expression of passion. He had no passion. But still, Abhi was not completely emotionless, because if he was, he would not consult a therapist. He was aware that something was off, but he denied himself the right to feel. He knew he needed to change, but he had developed a lot of walls brick by brick over so many years to protect himself from not feeling. Why had he buried himself in a characterological tomb? What was he really afraid of? In his unconscious mind, feeling was equated with insanity and with his historical mother. Abhi identified with his father and equated will, reason and logic with sanity and power. He thought of himself as a sane person and was able to study any situation logically. What can we learn about narcissistic disturbances from Abhi's case? The most important feature, I believe, is the lack of feeling. Although Abhi appeared to have cut off his feelings to an extreme degree, such a lack or denial of feeling is typical of all narcissistic individuals. Another aspect of narcissism that was evident in Abhi's personality is a desperate need to project his self-image. He presented himself as someone committed to doing good for others, but this image was not complete reality. What he called doing good for others represented an exercise of power over them, which despite his stated good intentions, verged on the diabolical. The disguise of doing good, for instance. Abhi exploited his girlfriend. He got her to love him without any loving response on his part. Such exploitativeness is common to all narcissistic personalities. Through Abhi, we have begun to get a portrait of the narcissist. But how can we define a narcissist more precisely? In common parlance, we describe a narcissist as a person who is preoccupied with him or herself to the exclusion of everyone else. As Theodore I. Rubin, a psychoanalyst and writer, says, the narcissist becomes his own world and believes the whole world is him. This is certainly the broad picture. The closure view of narcissistic personalities is given by Otto Kernberg, a prominent psychoanalyst. In his words, narcissists present various combinations of intense ambitiousness, grandiose fantasies, feelings of inferiority, and over-dependence on external admiration and acclaim. Also characteristic, in his opinion, are chronic uncertainty and dissatisfaction about themselves, conscious or unconscious, exploitativeness, and ruthlessness towards others. But this descriptive analysis of narcissistic behavior only helps us to identify a narcissist, not to understand him or her. We need to look deep beneath the surface of behavior to see the underlying personality disturbance. The question is, what causes a person to be exploitative and act ruthlessly towards others, and at the same time suffer from chronic uncertainty and dissatisfaction? More on this in the next podcast. Thank you.